Hello friends, I am Dr. Anju Sinha, Career Psychology. लास्ट टाइम आपने चैप्टर फर्स्ट व्हाट इज साइकोलॉजी का पार्ट फर्स्ट में पढ़ा कि व्हाट इज साइकोलॉजी, मीनिंग ऑफ साइकोलॉजी, डेफिनेशन ऑफ साइकोलॉजी, साइकोलॉजी एज अ नेचुरल साइंस, साइकोलॉजी एज अ सोशल साइंस, गोल्स ऑफ साइकोलॉजी, अंडरस्टैंडिंग माइंड एंड बिहेवियर, popular notions about the discipline of psychology, psychology and other disciplines. ये टॉपिक्स हमने लास्ट में कवर किए थे. अब स्टूडेंट्स पार्ट सेकंड व्हाट इज साइकोलॉजी में हम रिमेनिंग पार्ट्स को देखेंगे, जिसमें एट फर्स्ट हम लेते हैं एवेल्युएशन ऑफ साइकोलॉजी, दैट इज टू से स्कूल्स ऑफ साइकोलॉजी. यहाँ हमने SFPZBHC, it means structuralism, functionalism, psychoanalysis, gestalt psychology, behaviorism, humanistic psychology and after that cognitive psychology हम यहाँ पे इन स्कूल्स का स्टडी करेंगे. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, अब हम डिटेल में सभी चीजों को पढ़ते हैं. प्लीज पे योर अटेंशन. स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म. In 1879, Wundt and Titchener ने ये कॉन्सेप्ट दिया इंट्रोस्पेक्शन. It means looking within. Here they have focused mind and its structure, conscious experiences, pure science, building blocks of mind. That is to say, psychology as a modern discipline has a short history but a long past. It grew out of ancient philosophy. It emerges as a scientific discipline in the following phases. And structuralism is the oldest school approach to psychology. And it was proposed by Wilhelm Wundt. Structuralists were interested in analysis of human mind and its structure. They were interested in conscious experience and wanted to study the building blocks of mind, our awareness level, how do we think, how we analyze the things. After that, they used introspective method to study mental processes and experiences. They want to say what happened inside our mind. Looking within is called introspection. The second school is functionalism. In 1900, James was the main founder of this school. Dewey, Ansel also followed by them. And functionalism was based on observation, process orientation, mind and behavior, adjustment with environment, adaptive functioning, and learning process. It is an approach to psychology developed by an American psychologist. They emphasized on what the mind does and the function of consciousness in adjustment to the environment. According to them, consciousness is an ongoing stream of mental process. It can't be broken down into parts. They also used introspective method to study mental processes and experiences. After that, psychoanalysis. In 1900, Freud focused. This approach was proposed by Jung Adler also. They viewed human behavior as a dynamic manifestation of unconscious desire and conflicts of which we are not aware at present. He used psychoanalysis as a system to understand and cure psychological disorders. Are you getting my points? After that, Gestalt psychology. In 1912, Gardiner, Kafka, and Kohler. This approach was a revolt against structuralism, and they used experimental method. Whole was the concept, and holistic perceiving, insight learning, and computer related fundamentals are here. It focused on perceptual organization of what we see, and they also demonstrated the laws of perceptual organization. Structuralists wanted to break down perception into elements, but Gestalt stated that when we look at the world, our perceptual experience is more than the sum of the components of the perception, that is, we give meaning to perception. For example, when we look at a table, we do not perceive four wooden legs and a platform and all these things, plain surface above it, but we recognize it as a table. Okay, are you getting my points? Next school is behaviorism. In 1913, Watson, Pavlov, Skinner, they have focused about this school. And the third was experimental. They have focused on covert and overt behavior, objectivity, manipulative conditioning, conditional reflexes, and SR theory. All these things I have discussed in first part of this chapter. So please recall all these things from there. Here we see about this approach that mentalist concepts such as consciousness, image, or mind cannot be measured or studied objectively and scientifically. Watson emphasized on observable and verifiable response to stimuli. He was influenced by Pavlov's classical conditioning and was interested in the study of learning. After that, we see humanistic psychology, and it was given by Rogers and Abraham Maslow. They discussed here free will of human being, inner potential, needs, self-actualization. Here we see they emphasized on the free will of human beings. That is, people are free to do whatever they choose to do. Their actions are not predetermined by any force. They said that human beings strive to grow and unfold their inner potential. That is, what they are capable of doing. According to them, all individuals have innate tendency to self-actualize, and all human activities are goal-directed and worthwhile. Okay? And next and last school of the psychology is cognitive perspective and constructivism. It was given by Piaget and Vygotsky, and they have said combination of Gestalt and structuralist view, mind as an information processing system, focuses on cognition, social and physical environment. This perspective is a combination of Gestalt approach and structuralist approach. We see here, we also see that this approach focuses on cognition. Cognition means knowing the world, and that is how we know the world through thinking, understanding, perceiving, memorizing, and problem solving, etc. Jean Piaget and Vygotsky are the pioneer of this school. Next, we see that cognitive psychologists view the human mind as an information processing system like a computer. Mind is considered to receive, process, transform, store, and retrieve information. Mind is dynamic, and human beings actively construct their minds as they interact with the social and physical environment and interaction with adults and children. So we see that all of these, the schools of psychology. And these schools are structuralism, functionalism, psychoanalysis, behavioralism, gestalt psychology, humanism, humanistic psychology, and cognitive perspective. And now we see branches of psychology. In detail about the branches of psychology, we will see because this is a most focused field. Okay. So first branch is cognitive psychology. What is cognition? I had told you earlier that cognition means knowing the world. Okay. The major cognitive processes are attention, perception, memory, reasoning, problem solving, decision making, and language. Experiments in lab settings, neuroscientists and computer scientists, these are all gists of cognitive psychology. And now I will tell you in detail that mental processes involving acquisition, storage, manipulation, and transformation of information received from the environment, along with its use and communication. Okay. Now, second point is biological psychology. It means relationship between behavior and physical system, brain, nervous system, immune system, and genetics. Collaborate with neuroscientists, geologists, and anthropologists. It focuses on the relationship between behavior and the physical system, okay, including the brain and the rest of the nervous system, the immune system, and genetics. Biological psychologists often find out each and everything in a detailed manner. Now we see neuropsychology. What is neuropsychology? Role of chemical substances in different areas of brain, that is to say, association with mental functioning. We study the brain damage through advanced technology like EEG, PET and MRI, etc. आज के समय की बहुत बड़ी डिमांड है और मेडिकल फील्ड में इसका होना एक वरदान से कम नहीं है. Neuropsychology has emerged as a field of research where psychologists and neuroscientists are working together. Researchers are studying the role of neurotransmitters for chemical substances. So, this is the neuropsychology. Okay, students, now we will study social psychology. Deals with group behavior and interrelationship of people with others, group dynamics, likes and dislikes, interests and attitudes, social distances, and prejudice of the people in their personal and social relationships. It explores how people are affected by their social environments, how people think about and influence others. Social psychologists are interested in such topics as attitudes, conformity, and obedience to authority, interpersonal attractions, helpful behavior, prejudice, aggression, social motivation, intergroup relations, etc. So many topics are here. Social psychology का फील्ड बहुत बड़ा है, इसका स्कोप बहुत ज्यादा विशाल है. Now, the fifth point is developmental psychology. Developmental psychology में क्या है? Here we study process of growth and development, birth to old age. Study of child psychology, adolescence and adulthood, biological, sociocultural and environmental factors, and it influences psychological characteristics such as intelligence, and every branch of knowledge concerned with growth and development is related to developmental psychology. It studies the physical, social, and psychological changes that occur at different ages and stages over a lifespan. डेवलपमेंटल साइकोलॉजी में हम मानव जीवन के जन्म से लेकर मृत्यु तक का अध्ययन करते हैं, फ्रॉम कंसेप्शन टू ओल्ड एज. The primary concern of developmental psychologists is how we become what we are. For many years, the major emphasis was on child and adolescent development. However, today, an increasing number of developmental psychologists show strong interest in adult development and aging. They focus on the biological, sociocultural, and experimental factors that influences psychological characteristics such as intelligence, cognition, emotion, temperament, morality, and social relationships. Social workers, counselors, and almost every branch of knowledge where there is a concern for growth and development of a human being. Next point is cross-cultural and cultural psychology. Here we study role of culture in understanding human behavior, socio-cultural context. What is this? It means it examines the role of culture in understanding behavior, thought, and emotion. It assumes that human behavior is not only a reflection of human biological potential, but also a product of culture. Therefore, behavior should be studied in its socio-cultural context. Now we study environmental psychology. It means interaction with physical factors, temperature, humidity, pollution, and natural disasters. Physical harassments on workplace, on health, emotions, and interpersonal relations. Currently discussed on population, disposal of waste, etc. Environmental psychology का हमारे जीवन में बहुत बड़ा रोल है और बिना इसके हम स्वस्थ नहीं रह सकते हैं. इसलिए environment को अपने मॉडिफाई करके उसको हेल्दी रखना हम सभी का कर्तव्य है. It studies the interaction of physical factors such as all these things, and here we see one new topic also, population explosion, conservation of energy, efficient use of community resources are associated with and our functions of human behavior. So students, we all see that these are the environmental psychology. Now we will study about educational psychology. What is educational psychology? It applies psychological principles, theories, and techniques to human behavior in educational situations, improving all aspects of the teaching learning process, such as learning material, learning environment, and the teacher. School psychology designed programmer for holistic development of a child. यहाँ क्या है? It studies how people of all ages learn. Educational psychologists primarily help to develop instructional methods and materials used to train people in both educational and work settings. They are also concerned with research on issues of relevance for education, counseling, and learning problems. A related field of school psychology focuses on designing programs that promote intellectual, social, and emotional development of children, including those with special needs. They try to apply knowledge of psychology in a school setting. Okay, students? It's clear? Now we will study health psychology. Role of psychological factors such as stress, anxiety, prevention of illness, and promoting of health enhancing factors. These focuses on the role of psychological factors, and we study the areas of interest for a health psychologist are stress and coping, the relationship between psychological factors and health, patient-doctor relationship, and ways of promoting health issues. और ये हमारे लिए बहुत जरूरी है कि हम हेल्दी रहें फॉर ए हेल्दी लाइफ के लिए, सक्सेसफुल लाइफ के लिए. एंड लास्ट, क्लिनिकल एंड काउंसलिंग साइकोलॉजी. क्लिनिकल एंड काउंसलिंग साइकोलॉजी में हम देखते हैं कि ग्रुप थेरेपी फॉर द ट्रीटमेंट एंड इफेक्टिव एडजस्टमेंट, काउंसलिंग एवरीडे लाइफ प्रॉब्लम, स्टूडेंट एडवाइजिंग, career planning, etc., psychiatrist, intensive training in treating people, all these included in career and clinical psychology. Here I just want to differentiate between clinical and counseling psychology. Clinical psychology is related with day-to-day life problems, simple problems, whereas clinical psychology is related to day-to-day problems, but it is disorders. It needs therapy. It needs treatment and effective adjustment. It's not a simple. While as counseling psychology is related to just advice, counseling, motivational factors, and day-to-day happenings, events, etc. Okay. Clinical psychology deals with causes and all these things, serious problems, while as counseling is related with simple problems. Okay. Next, industrial psychology. Here we study human behavior in industrial environment, the test and interests of the consumers, advertising and sale of products, selection, training and placing of personnel, solving labor problems. After that, establishing harmonious relationship between employees and employers, strengthening morals of the workers and increasing production, etc. Students, it deals with workplace behavior. It is very important for an employee. And after that, for example, we can say that an organizational psychologist might recommend that a company may adopt a new management structure that would increase communication between managers and staff. The background of industrial and organizational psychologists often includes training in cognitive and social psychology. Okay? Sports psychology. It applies psychological principles to improve sports performance for motivation, gaining acceptance worldwide. Sports psychology applies psychological principles. Sports psychology is a relatively new field, but it needs a great concern because स्पोर्ट्स साइकोलॉजी में हम बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजों को सीखते हैं, टीम बिल्डिंग, कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल, जो कि आज एक नया इमर्जिंग फील्ड है. एंड लास्ट टॉपिक ऑफ द ब्रांचेज ऑफ साइकोलॉजी इज अदर इमर्जिंग ब्रांचेज ऑफ साइकोलॉजी. The interdisciplinary focus on research and application of psychology like aviation, space, military, forensic, rural engineering, community psychology, psychology of women and political psychology, etc. And we see that the name of a few others is that political psychology and so many areas are there. And we see that psychology is a vast field. And in our day-to-day life, we study it deeply. Now, development of psychology in India. It is very important. Please be attentive. The modern era of Indian psychology began in the Department of Philosophy at Calcutta University. First psychological laboratory was established in 1950. It was influenced by the Indian psychologist Dr. N. Sinha, trained in experimental tradition of Munich. After that, Professor Cbse was trained in Freudian psychoanalysis. There are two centers of excellence in psychology supported by the UGC at Utkal University, Bhubaneswar, and at the University of Allahabad. Psychology in India is now being applied in diverse professional areas. और इस तरह से हम देखते हैं कि डे बाय डे साइकोलॉजी जो था वो अपने नए रूप में आता गया और बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग थे जिन्होंने साइकोलॉजी को आगे बढ़ाने में बहुत ज्यादा रोल प्ले किया। इसमें एक नाम आता है डॉक्टर दुर्गानंद सिन्हा जी का 1986 हिस्ट्री ऑफ मॉडर्न साइकोलॉजी इन इंडिया इन 4 phases उन्होंने एम्फेसिस किया। द फर्स्ट फेज till independence, experimental, psychoanalytic and psychological testing research was the main focus. यहाँ हमने experimental को, psychoanalytic method को और psychological testing research पे बहुत ज़्यादा ही ध्यान दिया गया. The second phase till the 1960s, expansion of psychology in India into different branches of psychology. And problem-oriented research was done here. Indian identity by seeking to link Western psychology to Indian context. In the third page, post 1960, problem-oriented research phase was there. बहुत सारे ऐसे issues भी आए जहाँ की तरह के problems को face किया गया, उस पर research की गई और बहुत तरह की identity को इन लोगों ने find out किया। अवेयरनेस पूरे इंडिया में बढ़ने लगा। टीचिंग एंड रिसर्च में भी आने वाले समय में साइकोलॉजी की पॉपुलैरिटी बढ़ती ही जाएगी क्योंकि रिसर्च के फील्ड में नए काम हो रहे हैं। फोर्थ पेज 1970s डेवलपमेंट इन इंडिजिनियस साइकोलॉजी बेस्ड ऑन इंडियन ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज सिस्टम रूटेड इन आवर ओन सोशल एंड कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट। नॉलेज, skills and beliefs people have about themselves and others. It based on Indian traditional knowledge system. इसके अलावा न्यूरोबायोलॉजिकल एंड हेल्थ साइंस, हॉस्पिटल्स, कॉर्पोरेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में HRD एंड एडवर्टाइजिंग डिपार्टमेंट, स्पोर्ट्स, IT इंडस्ट्री एंड डेवलपमेंटल सेक्टर में भी साइकोलॉजी का डिमांड डे बाय डे बढ़ने लगा। इस तरह से हम देखते हैं कि साइकोलॉजी जो था अपने पूरे थीम में डे बाय डे उत्तर एक नई दिशा को टच करता जा रहा है। आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट्स स्टूडेंट? आई थिंक इट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। एंड नेक्स्ट टॉपिक हम अपने इस चैप्टर फर्स्ट के सेकंड पार्ट में देखते हैं, दैट इज थीम्स ऑफ रिसर्च एंड एप्लीकेशन। व्हाट इज थीम्स एंड रिसर्च ऑफ एप्लीकेशन? There are some themes which focus direction to research and application of psychology. What is this? The first theme is psychology, like other sciences, attempts to develop principles of behavior and mental process. The main concern of research is in understanding and explanation of behavior and mental processes. The conclusions drawn on the basis of studies which can be applied to everyone and are universal. For example, experimental psychology focuses on cognitive processes, while physiological psychology concentrates on physiological basis of behavior. Apart from that, developmental psychology studies qualitative and quantitative changes in behavior. Apart from that, social psychology focuses on the study of individuals' behavior in social context. Theme 2. Human behavior is a function of the attributes of person and environment. According to Kurt Lewin, behavior is the product of a person and his environment. Psychologist focuses on explanation of various psychological phenomena based on individual environmental instructions. Okay. Theme 3. Human behavior is caused. Causal explanations are main focus to all the scientists because without understanding them, no prediction will be possible. Okay? When it is said the behavior has multiple causes, it means that it is difficult to pinpoint the cause of behavior. Theme 4, understanding of human behavior is culturally constructed. What is this? A group of psychologists believes that at present all psychological principles explain human behavior in Euro-American perspective. Why? Psychologists from Asia, Africa, and Latin America have been critical to Euro-American approaches, which are propagated as universal. And a similar criticism is made by feminists who argue that psychology offers a male perspective only. That is to say, they argue in favor of dialectical approach which accommodates both male and female perspectives in understanding human behavior. Emerging trends in psychology tries to use psychological theories, principles, and facts to diagnose, and resolve problems related to individual and organizational settings, clinical services, education and environment, health, community development, and study of positive aspect of human behavior. By and large, modern psychology is equally focusing on theoretical aspects, the subject as well as the applied role of psychologists to deal with the lives of needy people. Okay, students, is it clear? I think all the concept is very clear and it is very helpful to study you. And now, psychology at work. At first, we see here clinical psychologist. Who is clinical psychologist? Clinical psychologists specialize in helping clients with behavior problems by providing therapy for various mental disorders, anxiety, fear, or stress. They may be involved in conducting interviews and administrating psychological tests to diagnose the client's problems and use psychological methods for their treatment and rehabilitation. They work either as private practitioners or at hospitals, mental institutions, or with social agencies, while as counseling psychologists work with persons who suffer from motivational and emotional problems. Okay, it's clear. A counseling psychologist may be involved in vocational rehabilitation programs or helping people in making professional choices or in adjusting to new and difficult situations of life. Counseling psychologists work for public agencies such as mental health centers, hospitals, schools, colleges, and universities. Next point is community psychology. What is community psychology? Community psychologists work for mental health agencies, private organizations, and state governments, both in urban and rural areas. They focus on problems related to community mental health and physical health as well. They work for community-based rehabilitation. Next point is school psychology. It is a branch of psychology which studies learner, learning, and teaching. It focuses on designing programs that promote intellectual, social, and emotional development of the children. It also focuses on the needs of special children. And last of psychology at work, organizational psychologists. Organizational psychologists are needed in big and small business enterprises. Organizational psychologists help in the role related problem of employees. They help in selection and training of employees by assessing their aptitude and areas of interest. Okay, it's clear? Okay. And now we will study basic versus applied psychology. Okay, students? Basic psychology. Basic psychology provides us theories and principles that form the basis of application of psychology. Psychologists work in the basic areas like teaching and research, biological basis of behavior, the processes of sensation and perception, learning and memory, cognition, human development, emotion, personality, social behavior, ethnic and gender identity, and sexual orientation. While as applied psychology provides us with different contexts in which the theories and principles derived from research can be meaningfully applied. Applied psychologists put the basic knowledge of psychology in helping people and applying theories in day-to-day life. They specialize in applied fields such as clinical treatment, personal or martial counseling, marital counseling, industrial or educational applications, or health psychology. So it's clear, basic psychology and applied psychology. Okay, students? And now, next, we will study psychology has a number of interesting applications. It changes our perception. We can understand our thoughts, emotions, feelings, ourselves better. Here are some points we will discuss here. First is health. Okay. After that, sports, relationships, advertisements, leadership skill, communication, problem solving, emotional intelligence, self-growth, academics, media, etc. One by one, we will discuss all these things. साइकोलॉजी का रोल सुबह उठने से लेकर रात को सोने तक कंटिन्यू रहता है. लाइफ के हर एस्पेक्ट में साइकोलॉजी है. स्टूडेंट्स, हेल्थ को देखें तो मेंटल एंड फिजिकल हेल्थ दोनों ही इंपॉर्टेंट है. ड्रग एडिक्शन सेंटर्स बहुत से साइकोलॉजिकल टेक्निक्स को यूज करते हैं. एक्सरसाइज, लाफ्टर टेक्निक, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. स्पोर्ट्स के फील्ड में अगर हम देखें तो फॉर ओवरऑल ग्रोथ हम स्पोर्ट्स के लिए आगे आते हैं. रिलेशनशिप को देखें, पॉजिटिव एंड इन्फ्लुएंसेस ऑन हेल्थ, हेल्दी एनवायरनमेंट लीड्स अ हैप्पियर लाइफ. एडवर्टाइजमेंट का फील्ड इमोशनल अपील को शो करता है, जिससे हम नेक्स्ट डे उसी चीज को परचेज कर लेते हैं. ये ट्रिक्स है, like limited time offer, exclusive items and few items left. Leadership skill builds a strong trust of the team members in their leader. Communication skill में तो politics का जवाब नहीं है. Communication, body language, problem solving, cognitive psychologist, learning, creativity, memory, retention, attention, रीजनिंग एंड डिसीजन मेकिंग एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. कोलमैन ने इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस के बारे में बताया है. ऐसा कहा जाता है कि जिन लोगों की हाई आईक्यू होती है वे ज्यादा हैप्पियर और सेटिस्फाइड होते हैं, और जिन लोगों की और अपने लाइफ में ऐसे लोग कंपेयर टू पीपल विथ हाई आईक्यू इमोशनल रियलिटी को समझ सकते हैं, और मेंटल क्लैरिटी बहुत जरूरी होती है, उसे भी वो अपनी लाइफ में महत्व देते हैं. सेल्फ ग्रोथ टूल्स में हमें हमारी स्ट्रेंथ और वीकनेसेस को जानने में बहुत मदद मिलती है। हमारी पर्सनैलिटी को ग्रूम करने में इम्पॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है ये। एकेडमिक्स जैसे एग्जाम सिस्टम इन स्कूल इम्प्रूव्स मेमोरी, और इसके साथ ही साथ ऐसी टेक्निक्स को भी जो पीसफुल इन्वायरमेंट प्रोवाइड करते हैं, प्लेइंग सॉफ्ट म्यूजिक वाइल रीडिंग एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा। मीडिया very important field of psychology, vital role, variety of problems, children, adolescents, adults and elderly people in social services, decision making etc। इस प्रकार हम देखते हैं कि साइकोलॉजी का नॉलेज हमारे एवरीडे लाइफ में बहुत यूजफुल है एंड इज रिवॉर्डिंग फ्रॉम पर्सनल एज वेल एज सोशल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑल्सो। तो हम देखते हैं कि साइकोलॉजी लाइफ से रिलेटेड है, बिहेवियर साइकोलॉजी। तो स्टूडेंट, here we covered everything in the second part of this chapter. Topics covered here: introduction, what is psychology as a discipline, as a natural science, as a social science, understanding mind and behavior, popular notions about the discipline of psychology, evaluation of psychology, development of psychology in India, branches of psychology, themes of research and applications, psychology and other disciplines, psychology as work, and last topic was psychology in everyday life. I hope that every concept is very clear and it will get help for you. Thank you, students. Psychology classes by Dr. Anju Sinha. If you want PDFs of the lecture, please join the above mentioned Telegram channel. And I need your help and support. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you. Love you all.